You're listening to the Ropes and Riffs podcast with your host, John Kiernan.
Hey, thanks for checking out this episode of the Ropes and Riffs podcast. My name is John. I am your wrestling entrance theme song composer here. And today, I've got a legend on the show. Not me. I'm not the legend. But you know who the legend is? Scott Radinsky of Pulley. Band's been around 40 years. They've got a new split record coming out with Fire Sale. It's going to be coming out September 5th. And Scott was able to take a couple of minutes today to be able to talk about the concept of the songs that they provided to it, what makes Pulley's 40-year success attainable, and talk about how they're brothers in the industry. And obviously, we ask what 3 songs would represent him, as we ask every guest on the show. And I can't wait for you guys to hear the musicians that Scott would put in the squared circle to duke it out. As always, thank you for checking out the Ropes and Riffs podcast. Follow us on anywhere you check out podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Go ahead and leave us a comment and a review on there. 5-star reviews are always the best. And if you leave a comment on the show, we'll go ahead and read that out here on the show. And if you donate $10 or more to Ropes and Riffs over on PayPal, a donation of $10 or more will get you a shout out on the show. So without any further ado, let's jump into it with Scott Radinsky of Pulley. The man, the myth, the legend, Scott Radinsky, here with us in the house from the band Pulley. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. How are you?
It is quite the day, as we say, but I didn't mean for that to rhyme, but it did. You're the lyricist, not me, but, we both talk in our own respective ways, right? So thank you so much for joining us today. We're joined on a few days out from the Pulley Fire Sale split record that's coming out. Tell us a little bit about that, because I have been a fan of Pulley for so many years now, and you guys have put out so many records. You've worked with so many people. For you guys to be able to put a split out with Fire Sale, talk to us a little bit about how that came to be, and then we'll get into some of the songs.
All right. It's always exciting when you're putting together new music and getting ready to have some sort of release. When Chris, the guitar player, reached out through an email asking if we had any interest, it was a no-brainer for us, and we said, yeah, of course. And we didn't exactly have songs ready to go, but we've always got ideas in kind of like the vault. And so when we were pushed to have a reason, they said, hey, we're going to each do 2 songs. It was like, all right, cool. We can dig into the batch of stuff we have and come up with some ideas or rearrange some ideas and make some music out of it. And, that's always the exciting part about, when you're in a band and you get to create and write. And then, go through the recording process and then see the whole thing come to fruition and get put out and have people listen to it. So super exciting. I mean, whether it's a full length, 1 song, 2 songs, doesn't really matter. Anytime you get to put out new music, it's a good thing.
I love the fact, too, that you're just like, hey, we might not have had as many songs in the chamber as like maybe going in for a full release or something like that. But you guys, again, are legends in the industry. You guys have so much music that you've written. I feel like if someone comes to you and says, hey, let's go ahead and put some music down, for you, for the rest of the band, it's almost like, all right, cool, we got it.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. That's exactly how it works. And, I don't think that makes us any different than any other band. It's just that motivation factor of we're going to record, we're going to put something out. And it's kind of like even when you're getting ready for a full length, you've got, 12, 15 songs you're going over for months and months. The second you get in the studio or the week before you get in the studio, it's like the switch turns on and you elevate your game to another level. And it's exciting, man. It's fun. It's a good thrill.
And so talk to us a little bit about some of the songs. On the split, you have Torn Apart by Time and you have Write a Note If You Leave. When you talk to artists who are putting out albums with, 10, 11, 12 songs, it's like, hey, let's pick and choose the conversation. But with the split, I think we can get kind of detailed with each of the songs. So take us a little bit between writing Torn Apart by Time and how that one came up.
Torn Apart by Time was basically just some riffs that were kind of arranged and the way me and our guitar player Mike work is I might like hum something over the phone to him and he'll start to play it, and we kind of figured it out that way. And so we had the music, I started writing lyrics, and we kind of had that song done. Lyrically, we leave the interpretation to the listener. The way we write, unless it's really hitting home on a specific meaning as the other song was, we kind of write in a way where it kind of just leaves a little bit of a gray area where you might interpret it one way, someone else might interpret it another. And there's enough substance there to give you a direction, but there's not too much that says you can't go down this path or you can't go down that path. And that's kind of almost like a conscious. I know people like to have a story and they have to have something behind a song, and maybe sometimes people might say that person, and I'm not saying me, but just in general, obviously it can refer to me, but those lyrics don't make any sense. Well, all lyrics make sense. And if you look at them line by line, and since I started really getting into this years ago, you start looking at it line by line. You can take pieces out of a song however you want. And there might be 15 different meanings. It might be talking about 15 different people. It might be talking about yourself. It might be talking about there's just so much gray area. And Torn Apart by Time, I would say lyrically is probably a song like that. Musically, it's a lot of riffs that are kind of all over the place that you kind of harness together and make some kind of structure out of it where it makes sense. It's a sensible song. I might not be answering your question. I might be going down a long road here, but yeah, I mean, I can't really say much about the song other than it's just one of those songs where take it how you take it.
I love it. But I love too how, like, when I kind of see the write up for it, when we get the PR releases, when we get to listen to the music, it's like you kind of get a little bit of a concept when you're doing a quick listen back. And I felt like with that song, at least for me, what I took from it was kind of be in the moment. We have so many things that go on in life. We have so many things, like we have kids, we have jobs, we have responsibilities, we have all these different things that we do, but you get this sense of like you have to figure out how to create that time for yourself and be able to just kind of be in the moment with the things that really mean a lot to you.
That's a really good take on it. I haven't personally thought of it that way. There was moments when I was scribbling words together where I was thinking being in a band for 40 plus years and how the evolution of that changes and how here we are in the moment, as you would say, 40 years later, kind of torn apart by the time. Like it's like, well, people got families, they have full-time jobs, we try to be in a band, we try to tour. There's just a lot going on. And I have never thought of it that way, but being in the moment is where we all need to be.
I love that. And you touched on it too, the fact that you've been a band for 40 plus years, and you've done everything from MLB to being in the band to being in multiple bands also. For you to have this longevity in Pulley, we have so many bands that exist for maybe 5, 10 years, even shorter times, some bands that go on to have these illustrious careers, right? But for you, what's the most important thing about being in a band that has this longevity to it?
I mean, I think it's like any long-term relationship. It's the people you're with. And first and foremost, I mean, that's probably the most grateful thing is to be with people that you actually enjoy being with. I can honestly call the people in my band friends, and quite a few of the members we've been dated back to the 80s when we were in high school, sitting on the quad at lunchtime, talking about this moment 40 years later, but talking about it, 40 years ago. And to be able to actually have the persistency and the determination to continue to just, we were very fortunate to start off on a record label that was, I mean, the best record label there could possibly be in our genre, our scene to be on. And that there's no doubt that helped get the name out there and helped kickstart, allow us to do what we did. But that was really only the first 10 years of being in a band. And so the last 20 plus years of Pulley, it's determination, the fact that we like each other, we get along. If you went to a gig and there was, 4 bands on the bill and there was 4 backstages, if you walked into our backstage, you're going to see 5 guys hanging out together. We don't, it's not like we're sitting partying and drinking, whatever. We're hanging out together, and we might even be rehearsing for the show, but we get along and we don't mind being together. So that is a huge part. And I think the fact that the model behind it, the way the whole thing started from day one, always has been, we just want to have fun. And, everybody starts playing in a band to have fun. Some people want to take it to another level. And I think it's so difficult and such a challenge to make it as a band and make it a successful career that people get to a point where they're all in. And then they get to a point where it's like, hey, we can't do this anymore. I gotta start my life. I gotta get a job. And I think that's one route that a lot of bands go, where they end up breaking up, fighting, arguments, non-compatibility. So I think definitely for me, not to be long-winded with it, but it's just the, getting along factor. I think that's the hugest part of what our existence and longevity can be related to.
And I think everybody who's been in a band that long or anybody who's continued to do this at the level that you guys do says the same thing. They're like, you know what? I still call people my brothers. I still call them my friends. We still are, at the core of it, that's what really ties everybody together. Like the music is the music, the business is the business. But if you don't have that relationship with the people, then it's the hardest thing to do, right? It's the hardest thing to be able to get on stage, write music, and be kind of with people. And I know for me, any projects I've been in, it's been the same exact thing. Life may take you by and may do other things, but at the same time, if you're able to lock in and you're able to be, like going back to the point, right, in the moment with those people, and these are people you really enjoy being in the moment with, I think that there's something really important about that. And that brings us to the next song, which is Write a Note If You Leave, which, by the way, in terms of lyric choices, obviously mint, but in terms of title choices, stellar. I'd love for you to take us through a little bit. I know it's a bit esoteric, like you said, but what were some of the things that you were thinking when you were putting together lyrics for this song?
Well, lyrically, this song was written by Mike, the guitar player, and it's a pretty personal song to him, and it really does have a meaning behind it. His mom was going through a tough time, and she was really sick, and he basically is writing about the last moments he shared with her, and his life growing up, and reflecting on memories that he had throughout his childhood, leading up to being in the moment when he's sitting on the side of her bed, in those last moments. And it's a really personal song, and I probably am not the one to really elaborate on it, but I was involved in collaborating with him, with some lines and trying to make some of the structure make sense for me vocally. And that's one thing that I'm super grateful working with a guy like him is we understand when we're writing a song, and it's not to be selfish as a singer, but the songs are based around vocal melody, at least our styles, based around vocal melody and some kind of consistency and structure. And when someone presents a song, my first question is, yeah, it's great. The riff, the music sounds great. What would you sing over that? Because I might not hear it. And if they're like, well, what do you mean? Just sing something. It's catchy. It's melody. It's not that easy. I'm not that good to just be like, snap my finger and come up with this, great hook. So as we start from the very beginning and we start writing the music, hum me what you're hearing. And he starts humming something. We didn't have lyrics. And we start to kind of collaborate on the words, but that song is pretty personal, and it's relatively hits home. This was just, I think, a few years ago that he had to go through this, and it was a really tough time, and it's a personal, heartfelt, song, and it did help being able to be involved at some point to write some of the lyrics and help create some of the phrasing, so that I could be involved and I could be connected to the song, even though it wasn't me personally who was feeling those feelings. Being able to help create it gets me enough involvement to like be connected to the song and feel like it's coming out of my heart too. So it's kind of like, I guess, acting in a role, where you have to like play that part and you really dig deep into what's being said and try to make that come out and have some feeling and meaning from your own self. And that's kind of where I'm at with that song.
I love too where you brought up the collaborative part of it though too. And I think a lot of bands sometimes it's like, hey, I'm the singer, so I deal with all the melodies of the vocals and all the lyrics. I'm the guitarist, so I deal with the riffs, right? And nigh shall they connect, right? Or now shall they cross streams, right? But I feel like that's been one of the things with you guys for years that's been such a stronghold, right? Is this collaborative process, is the ability to kind of reach across and say, you know what, if you've got this and we can, and you already have a bit of a concept, let's go ahead and build that together. Because again, it really ties together. Like, hey, you're going to be the one singing it, but it's your message. And if there is a way that I can help bring that to light in the best way that I can and vice versa, then I think we can really do that. And, I think bands work differently too. Some are very melodically driven, some are lyrically driven, and then you kind of fit it to that. It sounds like you guys have such a good hold on being collaborative in a band. And I think that comes to what you were saying earlier, where it's like, hey, we really respect each other. We're brothers, we're friends, and we want to do right by each other.
Yeah. I mean, for sure, we want to do right by each other. There's no doubt in that. And there's no egos, which is huge. And I think that, reflects on what you were saying with the collaboration part of it. It's taken a long time to figure out the formula. And, I think we're okay with that. I think some of the people that maybe And I don't want to use the word contribute because that would be short selling them. But if it's two people getting in a room and hashing over ideas and then presenting that to the band, or then it's two other people coming up with ideas and then presenting that to the band, it works. And like I said, it's taken a long time to figure out the formula. We don't have a single songwriter, so to speak. We do have times when I might write a complete song, might write a complete song, lyrically and musically, but it's never complete in the way I started out. Because once I present it to everybody, Tyler, the bass player, will have a suggestion. Hey, let's extend this part. Let's do that. And we start to collaborate on an idea. So it's not, like I said, a single person's piece of work. So it's taken a while, but and by no means are we perfecting it or saying we ever have or ever will. But for us, it works. And we're proud of what we do. Like I said, it's taken a while to figure it out. And thank God we've had the opportunity to withstand each other for a long enough time to get to this point.
See, you won't say you perfected it, but being around 40 years, I can say it. You don't have to say it. I will. I think you guys have done a great job in bringing that to the forefront. So, it's really interesting, and I love the story. And again, the lyrics, the conversation we're having, it's all about really that community. It's really about like you guys being in that moment. And I'm going to keep going back to that because that's something I really love in this conversation. A couple more things before I let you go, my friend. And this is a staple of this show as we talk about some things with wrestling, some things with music. So if you had to book 3 wrestling matches, 1 man versus man, 1 tag team, and 1 women's match, and all of the participants only were musicians wrestling in the squared circle, what matches would you make and who would win?
Wow. So I have to pick musicians to be the wrestlers.
Exactly. Yep.
And I got to pick a tag team first. Okay. I'm definitely going Fletcher from Pennywise and the big bitch from Lagwagon.
Nice.
Yeah. So for my singles match, I'd probably take Henry Rollins. Henry Rollins versus Tesco V of the Meatmen.
Man.
And for my women's match, I have some good choices, huh? I'm definitely going Olga from this band called Svetlana's. I don't know if you ever heard of them, but people look them up. And who would she go against? Let me find a good challenger. Can I pick somebody that's no longer with us?
You absolutely can.
How about Wendy O. Williams of the Plasmatics?
All right, man. That's a good one. That's also.
And this would be a good visual to watch too,
See, now I got to ask you who goes over in all of those. Oh my gosh. Henry Rollins, I feel like just goes over no matter what.
Yeah, probably. Before the match even starts.
Right.
I'd take Fletcher and Chris from Lagwagon. I'd take those guys over anybody. So you can choose whoever you want to challenge them.
There you go.
And between Wendy O. Williams and Olga, I don't know, man. We might have to go tie. Is there such a thing in wrestling?
You can get to a draw, but then they usually do a breaker later. So usually they'll have a draw. It draws out into a story, and then they have a one-on-one later. Love that. Yeah. So we got a draw. Well, you guys figure out who wins. How about that?
I like it. See, once again, we leave the imagination to the listener.
I love that. And I got one more question for you. If you had to put 3 songs on a playlist that represent you, Scott Radinsky, what 3 songs do you choose to put on that playlist that represent you as a person?
I don't know. That's a question I would have had to give a lot of thought. I can think of songs that motivate me and songs that I feel personally connected with, bands that I've always looked up to.
Hit me with them. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. I've got to pick a Minor Threat song. I'm probably going to say Betray. I'm going to go with some kind of Descendant song, possibly Cheer Me Up or maybe Sour Grapes. And I got to pick a Black Flag song, some like Rise Above or something angry.
All those are perfect choices. See, for me, I was partially expecting a Strung Out song. I don't know why, but Strung Out's one of my favorites. And I'm just like, man, if Scott's on the show, when I ask him this question, Strung Out may come up on there.
Let's throw an alternative. Let's throw a honorable mention Strung Out song in there for you. How's that?
Beautiful. I love it. And what song would that be for you, my friend?
It would have to be one of those early songs. Pick any song off the first 2 records and I'm in.
Let's do Matchbook.
I love it.
Love it. Perfect. Scott Radinsky, you've got this album coming out September 5th. Everyone's got to go check it out. Fire Sale is going to be on it. You guys, obviously, legends in the industry. Split record. Check it out when it comes out everywhere. Scott, thank you so much for making the time today to chat.
Hey, man. Thanks to you, John. I appreciate it.